Hello and welcome, everyone. I am SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Ben Whitehair. Thank you all for joining us for another SAG-AFTRA program on YouTube. To stay current with our video events, we invite you to subscribe to this channel, which you can even do right now. We are joined today by American Sign Language interpreters Romina Mena and Mara Bassani Santa Maria. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded and you can watch the replay right here on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel, along with all of our other great content. Today, we present the PTEOE President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live stream, The Role of Field Services Representatives. When our members are working, it's important for the health and safety of everyone that the working conditions and provisions on set are in compliance with our contracts. That means everything from making sure that minors are broken on time to ensure proper protocols are in place for people working in out-of-season wardrobe, to confirming large crowds of members working background are managed safely. And that is where the SAG-AFTRA Field Services representatives come in. And today we're breaking down what you need to know about their role on set. Today's presenter is SAG-AFTRA Executive Director, Field Services, Jim Damis. Jim began his career at SAG-AFTRA over 30 years ago as a field rep for the Screen Actors Guild and has since become manager, director, national director, and now executive director of Field Services. He has developed the expansion of the department nationally and now oversees teams of field reps in New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and other regions around the country. Jim supervises the Safer Set 24/7 hotline, servicing members around the clock safety and working conditions concerns on set. Thank you so much for being here today. Jim, let's jump right in.
Absolutely. Very glad to be here. Thanks, Ben. The field reps are the front lines of contract enforcement. We're sort of the cops on the beat for SAG-AFTRA. They visit the sets to ensure production companies are compliant with the union's collective bargaining agreements while resolving issues and claims on behalf of the members. Okay, next slide. As per the basic agreement, general provisions under union security, the language on the screen you're seeing here, each producer shall give the union full opportunity to check performance by such producer, including access to sets, but the union's checking shall be done in such a manner as not to interfere with production. So, we have a right to be there, but we have to be unobtrusive and not disrupt the workflow. We find our time to deal with our issues when necessary. But if there's a pressing matter, such as safety, minors, something that needs to be addressed immediately, we press forward immediately to resolve it. Okay, next slide. Okay, the priorities of set coverage. We can't be everywhere at all times, but we try to designate a field rep presence when these priorities are in place. Generally, it's working conditions, it's safety concerns. Whenever minors are working, minors rules are of utmost importance. Stunts, hazardous or rough work, potentially dangerous locations, a large cast, nude, intimate scenes, crowds of background actors, exteriors, extreme weather. Okay. Some of the examples of the issues field reps resolve on set. Medic ambulance present during stunt-related work. We negotiate hazardous adjustments on behalf of background actors. Evaluate the viability of hazardous work. Ensure rules are observed during scenes involving nudity and intimacy. Obtain safety data sheets on special effects products such as smoke, fog, haze, and inspection reports on locations' acceptability as a workplace. Minors' work hours and educational requirements we look over. Sanitation conditions, meal period rules, exterior work in extreme cold, heat, inclement weather, out-of-season wardrobe, transportation issues, rest period violations, upgrades, preference of employment violations, essentially anything that is covered in our basic agreement or the standards of safety and health in our industry. We're there to make sure it's happening. Field reps aim to resolve all issues, if possible, before leaving the set. This is a bit of a mantra in our department. Some issues are simply not open for discussion and must be resolved on set. For example, a medic being there when they're performing stunt-related or hazardous work, or an ambulance if the level of that type work is mandates it. A minor being wrapped on time, or a safety concern. Not open for discussion. That has to be resolved immediately. We try to resolve any other issue, whether it's an upgrade, whatever, we try to resolve it before leaving the set, but that's not always possible. Some issues may remain in dispute. Some of these would be upgrades, hazardous adjustments, meal penalty disputes. To finalize a resolution on an outstanding issue, the field rep may continue to work on it. After leaving the set, if no conclusion is reached in 24 hours, then the performer must contact the contracts department who is handling the production. The field rep is close to is on the set, is working on these issues, observe them, dealing with everyone involved. So we want to see the field rep conclude them. It's usually the best possible outcome. So if it takes another 24 hours to continue those discussions, we want to see that happen. But at some point, it has to go to the contract department to develop or see if a formal complaint, a formal claim can be developed. The field rep will continue to provide insight, details, a report as necessary as that claim moves forward. Another mantra of our department and the union in general is we maintain confidentiality wherever possible. We cannot be everywhere monitoring all sets at all times, as there are several hundred of productions shooting all over North America and beyond. And unless we hear from from members, crew, whoever calls from a set, we cannot intervene, address, and resolve matters of safety or extreme working conditions. Fear of retaliation remains too often an inhibitor to reporting from cast and crew working on sets, but everything is always confidential. And there are protections in our CBAs, state, federal, OSHA laws against any kind of retaliation for reporting to the union. So we will always protect your confidentiality, and you have nothing to fear. If there's any kind of repercussion, there are protections in place for that. Compliance is always the goal. A consistent SAG-AFTRA presence on set deters productions from breaking the rules. This is a bona fide fact. To that end, we are adding 2 new regional field reps to our team, and they should be coming aboard very soon, and we're excited about that. The more frequently we can visit sets, the more compliant that set will be. Field reps communicate with all parties on set. One of the best parts of our set visits is our field reps will meet with the members, they will try to meet with every single member before leaving that set. It's not always possible. Some members are might be busy, might be involved in scenes, cast members, but they will make the best effort to touch base with every single member working there that day, whether it's a principal performer, a stunt performer, a background actor. In holding areas for background, they'll go in and announce themselves. They educate our members, they inform them, they'll answer questions. They'll also they'll also touch base with their production counterparts. These are the unit production managers, the assistant directors, producers, and they'll go over with them what's scheduled not only that day, but what's upcoming, what their challenges and concerns are, and the field rep will educate them about how they can proceed safely and in accordance with our collective bargaining agreements and industry-wide standards for safety. The Safer Set hotline, this is the number here. It's on the back of your card. This is during non-business hours, so nights, weekends, holidays. You can call that safety emergency number if you're on a set and you're dealing with a safety, a health, and extreme working conditions matter, protection of minors' well-being. So, you know, we do have a field services department handles this set hotline. We have other staffers involved as well around the country. But, you know, keep in mind that this is really for safety or extreme working conditions matters. For non-emergency, we have other numbers for you to call. But this is a very important component of our compliance on safety matters as the Safer Set hotline, and it runs very efficiently. Just to that point, you know, if you have any questions or any issues, anything you need to report or any non-emergency reports, please call these numbers. Reach out to your nearest local, call us on the contract department. And if we need to send a field rep to your set, we certainly will. We look forward to hearing from you. But just remember that reporting is critical, and we look forward to hearing those reports.
Thank you, Jim. So helpful. And just to reiterate what you said, you know, I've heard many times that you know, the field reps and the staff aren't able to jump in and do something if they don't know that something's going on, so that reporting matters a lot. And again, just to reiterate, it can be done anonymously. And I know I've seen it happen multiple times where performers or whomever will report, and it may be that there have been multiple reports, and so staff knows where to focus their efforts. Jim, we do have some questions from members. Number one, are there field representatives who work outside of LA and New York?
Yes, Ben, we have a team of 6 in LA, a team of 6 in New York, but we also have 2 field reps in Atlanta, one exclusively covering Georgia, because as we know, Georgia is the 3rd biggest volume market in the country for production. And then we have the other rep there works in Georgia 50% of the time and then covers the Southeast. We have one rep based in Dallas who covers Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Utah, New Mexico. One in Chicago who covers the Midwest. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have 2 new regional set reps coming very soon. One will be based in New Mexico, and that rep will be covering exclusively the southwestern states. And the other will be based in Seattle and will be covering northwestern states and Canada, particularly British Columbia. So the idea here is, you know, they'll cover less ground, fewer states, and make more frequent set visits. And that presence goes a long way with our members and compliance. But that's, you know, we're very excited to have 6 in New York, 6 in LA, and now 6 will be in the regions.
I love it. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Next question. What if something that seems unsafe is happening on set, but I don't see a field rep?
Okay. Number one, call Safer Set, call your nearest local, call we have, you know, a number of phone numbers to reach us at. Call us. But you should keep in mind, your number one factor to always remember is you have the right to say no to dangerous work. Never take your safety for granted. Don't think they always have your back, that they got this covered. Be aware, be alert. They're responsible for creating safe conditions, but it is ultimately up to you to make the right decision. That's what people should realize. It might happen one time throughout their entire career, but that's the time to say, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to call the union. So if there's any doubts, don't do it. Call us. Don't let them pressure you, and support your fellow performers who make that choice. Again, there are contractual provisions in place to prevent repercussions from the producers, and the performer's consent. And this is very clear language. The performer's consent is required prior to the performance of stunts or other hazardous activity. We will see if we can send a field rep right away to that set. It's not always possible, but we certainly can troubleshoot from afar. We've done many such Zoom emergency calls with production and labor relations during COVID, when we had a lot of COVID calls about protocols not being properly observed. So certainly we will troubleshoot and address these issues. But the main thing is to reach out to us. Also ask for the stunt coordinator or the first AD. They're in charge of safety on the set. If you don't see anyone to speak to, just call us. Again, they should be a stunt coordinator on a set if they're doing any kind of stunt related work or hazardous activity. And if they are doing stunts, stunt performers should be doing that work. Any actor has a right to ask for a double. Stunt performer has a right to say, I don't like this setup. I'm not gonna perform that. And whenever there's a scene involving stunt performers and background actors, there must be a very clear line of demarcation. Background actors are limited on the fringe of those scenes. That's something to watch for. Safety bulletins. These are the guidelines recommended by the industry-wide labor management committee. And they're used by the motion picture industry for standards for many years. There's upwards of 45 of them now. And these deal with all kinds of potential hazards that performers might encounter, including firearms, helicopters, smoke, fog, haze, that's bulletin 10, water hazards, railroads, pyrotechnic, all of this. So you should be familiar with the safety bulletins. They're on our website. Safety meetings should be happening throughout the day, especially if you're doing any of this work. They should be, routine safety meetings. Safety support teams should be in place. This would be like the fire department, if they're doing any pyro work, the firearms expert, an armorer. These should be qualified, experienced people in these roles. Water safety divers, a marine coordinator if they're doing water work, animal handlers, who's the special effects. I could go on and on, but the key people who head up these departments need to be experienced and qualified. A medic on a set when necessary. We have language for that. Shall be present during the performance of hazardous work as planned. An ambulance as necessary if it's at a certain level, such as a car crash. And environmental concerns. These would be the locations. You might show up one day and find yourself in an abandoned building. There might be questions. Upon request, the producer must provide all reports, all documentation of sanitary, asbestos, lead, structural, it could be electrical hazards, whatever it might be. They're required to provide you those reports of what work they did to make that a safe workplace. And then finally, the special effects that our members come in contact with. You have a right to question it. You have a right to the safety data sheet. If you're asked to inhale, ingest, or come in contact with anything, the producer must provide that information to you in advance of the performance. I think I'll leave it there, but I could go on about that.
Well, I think it's really helpful to have a reminder of all of the different elements that can be potentially hazardous or challenging or cause, matters of safety on a set, and that as performers and if people are stunt performers or actor performers, to be mindful that we're allowed to say no. And I know that can feel hard on set in the moment. And so what I hear you saying deeply is call the safety hotline if you're concerned that, you're not alone. There are staff who can step in and support and make sure that everything is safe and up to the contractual provisions that we have to make sure that everybody's taken care of. One more question. Can you speak to the post-set handling of an unresolved issue? What do members need to know about the process if something's been raised, and what happens afterwards?
Yeah, this is important, and I did allude to this earlier. Again, some issues are not up for debate. There are safety concerns, minors, rules, those kinds of things. But other issues, they might be contentious, and the field rep is voicing the union's position, but the production might be saying something else. These would be areas of upgrades, adjustments, penalties, payment disputes. There might be a number of outcomes in these types of disputes. Well, the field rep might prevail, and we very often do, in making the case, and they acquiesce, and that's a great outcome. The production might remain completely adamant, and then we're at loggerheads. And that what happens now? The performer is provided by the field rep the contact information for the claims business rep, the local staffer, and other specialty staff, such as stunts, music department, as necessary. And then they connect there to see about developing a claim. The important point I want to make is the member should not think the field rep is carrying the claim forward and nothing more is needed from them. They are needed in the claims process, and they need to connect with the contract staffers to do so. But the field rep remains available for consultation as necessary throughout that process, and there is a report generated by the field rep. Now, the field rep might make headway towards finding a good resolution for one of these issues on the set, and continues to work on that post-set visit. They may say there's a tentative agreement to upgrading 4 people in the construction scene, and the AD might say, well, I got to run this by the executive producer or labor relations. So we might have something in place. The field rep will continue to connect with the ADs and the production, say about a period of 24 hours to see if they could finalize. And that's always, we really want to see that, because no one knows the issue better than the field rep. And and we want to see a good positive outcome seen through and concluded by the field rep. But if that falls through, usually we give it a day, then it moves again into the contracts department, and they will look into a formal claim on it. The field rep again will provide the contact information for those folks, but the performer needs to connect with them, and the field rep remains involved for consultation and the report.
Got it. Very helpful. Jim, thank you so much for walking us through all of this, giving us the lowdown on how the SAG-AFTRA field service representatives do what they do and how they're out there making sure that our members are safe and protected on set every day. I will remind everybody as well that the safety hotline that we've mentioned a couple times, you can find it front and center in the SAG-AFTRA app for anyone who's downloaded the SAG-AFTRA app to your mobile smartphone, which you can also do right now if you haven't. And you can find it, of course, right there on the homepage of the website. So sagaftra.org. If you're ever not sure, you're in a tough situation, that number's always ready and accessible to you. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it anytime or send the link to some friends. On behalf of the whole team here at SAG-AFTRA, we would like to thank you for watching, and a special thanks to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our PTEOE President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live streams. If you have ideas for topics you would like to see us cover, please email us pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before we go, if you haven't already, please subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel to get updates on all of the content we are posting. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.